Good afternoon, Scott Redler, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. So I think about 24 hours ago, I was here, we were talking about the 6 longs that I put on, even though the market wasn't giving you blaring signs that, the reversal was going to happen. All we knew is that we were about 3% off the highs. We had a small red dog reversal in a lot of different stocks and a few different sectors. So it was worth at least covering, some shorts if you were short. I wasn't short. And then maybe testing out some longs in some stocks and some indices, not knowing what the next day would bring. But the strategy says you take it for a day trade and you try and hold a third just in case there's upside follow through. We've seen this so many times with this type of trade. And if you hold the third, you could be rewarded. And if you stick with it, all of a sudden maybe you have a great swing trade besides a day and a half trade. Who knows? It all depends on your time frame. You look at the chart of the spiders. Okay, all you had yesterday is this. Okay, it wasn't blaring. It wasn't saying, game over for the bears. All it was saying was here was, a move, from the breakdown of the 8-day and the 21-day, right around this 2104, and that was your short entry. Okay, if you were going to be short, or that was even your exit. Then you had 1, 2, 3, 4 down days into one of the key moving averages, okay, and it held going sideways. So saying, okay, maybe we get some kind of bounce. Maybe we want to retest this moving average or even that one. And, in order to do that, we have to clear yesterday's high. So, going home, I'm thinking I'm going to write down this, write down that, and then there'll be my resistance. And then boom, that was today. So basically, you had more follow through than you would have thought. So if you positioned yesterday and said, I'm going to put my buy here, my stop there, I'm not even coming in today, you turn on your computer and you're like, wow, what a great swing trade. Mark was as high as 2140. I got positioned around 2080, which is about 60 handles lower, which is basically what we've been doing in the past 2 years. You haven't got much more than a 3 to 3.5% pullback. So anyway, that was that. So where's the market now? We're coming right back into this resistance. Not much you could do, I guess, overnight. What I would like to see perhaps is some commitment to this move. Maybe an inside day or two, and then you get a nice breakout trade above this, which would probably get more shorts to get squeezed. If we happen to open up tomorrow pretty strong, I'm sure there will be some that try and short into this resistance. So either way, there'll be things to do tomorrow. Usually after a big day like today, you don't really want to take some of the indices home, especially from the where we were yesterday on the low today. But if you want to be in stocks, there are some stocks that gave you a nice follow through, and you want to try and stay with some stuff. You try, hopefully you sold some, and maybe you still positioned from yesterday, or you worked your way in today. Because even if you go to the spiders, I know it was quick, okay, but you did have a spot, to get long if you wanted to today. Actually, no, this was kind of tough because you had your big gap, and then it just took off real quick. That was your first stop. So if I was short, okay, which I wasn't, thank goodness. I actually sold my spiders into this. I was thinking this 210 was going to be a spot. So probably anyone short from yesterday, may have shorted around here and said, okay, I'm going to bring my cost average up, see if I get a way out. And then when it retook and went above this 210.27, that probably would have been my stop. Okay, and then all of a sudden it keeps trending higher. And if it was you and you weren't stopped out, this move probably capitulated a lot of the shorts. That was when Greece and Germany supposedly have some kind of deal. But anyway, not much you could have done. And then the rest of the day was just a base. So we'll see tomorrow how we open up and how you could trade versus this base. If we open around 211 and hold, that would be very, constructive for the bulls. And then when you break above this, maybe you go. Then like tomorrow, depending on how we open, I would probably say, okay, this is support 1. Here is support 2-ish, coming into here where we broke out from, and then now you have the gap. Okay, as long as we stay above this gap moving forward, the bulls probably have the ball and are back in control. So anyway, you go, when you want to see how strong a rally is, you want to see, like, does the leaders have friends, and The bios and the Russell have been a little wishy-washy, but that's the way the market's been. But you look at them now, you know, the IWMs held where they had to, I guess, yesterday, right? Held this ascending channel, very choppy, and then today took off back above the 8 and 21 day, and here's the highs. So, you know, if the market wants some leadership, the Russell, again, I know it changes from day to day and time to time. You know, this is in the game. The bios also, you know, it looked like in the morning every bear out there was trying to press and wasn't easy. And if you were pressing, okay, because once it went below this low here, who knows? It could have fallen apart. What did you know yesterday? Then that yesterday's low was 358.47. So if you pressed it below that, you know, when it came back above it, because all you had is about, what is it, 357.80. This is 3. Basically, when, you know, what is it, 70 cents below, and then if it came back above, if you'd have said, I'm going to give it this pivot, I'm going to cover, you lost almost nothing. If you rolled up your short the entire time, chances are you could be in trouble if all of a sudden now this decides to break out above this. Okay, so right now it still looks like you have this upper channel and it's been choppy, and each day is different than the past or the prior, but now it looks like it could go. And so when you have, you know, when you have the bios that look decent again, Russell kind of leading, and then you have every dip being bought in the bank, like we talked about yesterday in the banks. You know, I showed you the 8 and 21 day on 5 different banks. I'm like, if you don't want to play a breakout, maybe you want to buy the dip. These have been the trends that have been holding. You know, so you could have bought yesterday for that, and then today, you know, here you had some breakouts. Here was Goldman again. You know, the 8-day held. That's what's been holding this entire time. Trend stayed intact above the 21-day if you give it more room, and now you're at highs. Morgan Stanley. You know, I've messed up this trade huge. I feel like all I've been talking about for the past month is how Morgan Stanley should take out the prior highs. Okay, well, now it's above it. And what did it do the entire time? You know, it's held the 8 and 21 day moving average. A little bit choppy, it is what it is, but if you held it versus the 21 day, you did just fine. I think every time it looked bad, I got out of it. I didn't trade these banks well. You know, it is what it is. Citigroup also. I did not get back into it. I've tried to be too cute. I also stated that here we should be back at these highs, and it's back at the highs. And this too, a little choppy, but it's been above the 8 and 21 day for a while. And this was that big level. I remember getting involved on this day, selling some on that day, getting out of it, I think, on that day, and then I just never got back into it. And it is what it is. Can't be in everything. You know, I was talking to everyone on the VTF today. Everyone's like, sometimes I'm only in 4 or 5 positions, but in my Redler All Access note, I have like 25 names that I talk about with different strategies, long, short, levels to trade against. And, you know, they're like, why aren't you in more names? I'm like, what am I supposed to do? Be in 25 names, managing them all, and talking on the VTF, and going on Fox Business, or going on CNBC, or dealing with traders, or being a part. You know, my role is diversified. So I need to do what I could do as a trader to make money, to make cash flow. That's why I tend to have fewer positions on. Doesn't mean that you can't do what I'm not in. A lot of people make a lot of money on the plays I throw out there as an offensive coordinator, you know, without me having to be in them. And I know it's sometimes better when I'm in them too, because it gives you conviction. It's like the whole hand-holding thing. But a lot of you guys are, you know, you're out of the nest. You guys are doing just fine on your own. Some of you probably make more money than I do in my own trades. But that's fine. That's my job, and I'm happy about that. But anyway, moving forward, Apple, pretty funny. You know, I got an Apple late yesterday, okay, because I didn't really fully believe in the move, but we talked about the Red Dog reversal yesterday. So just to show you how the media, you really got to turn the media off. I'm sorry. I'm kind of a media guy, but, you know, I wake up in the morning, okay, I had 6 positions. My biggest one was probably Apple. And the first thing I do when I see on CNBC.com, when I looked at where the futures were, is, you know, why I'm divorcing the iWatch. First piece of negative news. No big deal. I look at Apple, it's up 80 cents. I'm like, great. Apple 80 cents, futures are up 90 cents. You know, it's going to be a good start. Then as I'm driving my car to the ferry, 1010 wins, you know, all of a sudden they get into the business, stock market, blah, blah, blah. Apple, you know, antitrust regulations, not so fast with the streaming music. This state's looking into that state, and I'm like, oh, antitrust issues just rolled out, and people were unimpressed with it as it is. And then I get to the ferry, and I look, it's only up 55 cents now, and the futures were still up where they were. I'm like, oh, I'm like, this thing's going to go negative and it's going to be weaker, and it's my biggest position. And so right there, like, everyone loves to write negative stuff. If even today, when the Dow was up 250 points, I looked at the headlines, on the homepage. Every headline was still, why could this rally fail? The bear is going to be on Fast Money on Netflix. This, that, like, no one's positive out there on anything ever, it feels like, because that doesn't sell newspapers or give you page views. But anyway, so for me, I was out of my Apple probably within the first half an hour, made good money on it, but because I was skewed to the negative side by looking at negative headlines, I didn't sit in it all day because it really gave me no reason to get out of it. You go back to Apple now. Here's your red dog reversal. There's your move. It pulled in towards the end of the day, so I got in a little bit. I have a lot less than I had last night. I did buy some back just in case it continues. Here it's sort of a little bit above that, but it's fine. Chances are I might need to go sideways a little bit before getting a little bit better action. But overall, it's just funny the way it works. Netflix, what a move. Look at the size of this move. Held the 8-day the entire time while people bashed the valuation. Never even got close to the 21-day. Technically, was great. Gave you a big breakout day yesterday and paid you to hold it overnight. And then a lot of people, what they did though, is unfortunately people like to try and anticipate a top. And I've done that before too, and I've gotten hurt before. Instead of looking for some kind of signal that a top, short term could be in. So, some guys did it and some guys traded out of it. Some guys made a lot of money. But, here, if you look at the chart on the 5-minute, okay, first of all, it just took off. So some people, I think, probably tried to short here, got squeezed out, short here, got squeezed out. Okay, but the one thing I want to show you here, okay, for the first time is, okay, I think it was right around here. Okay, it was either here or maybe even here. I gotta see. First of all, this was your first wedge type pattern that gave you a wide range bar to the downside. So right here was maybe you shorted 685, boom. Then it came back up. So when that Greece news came out and the spiders spiked 40 cents, Netflix didn't move. And that was the time I said to the floor, I'm like, guys, if you've been looking to short Netflix, now maybe you could short over 687 because there was no push when the spider just went 40 cents. So this was, what time was this? This was 12:45, or I think it could have been right here, which was 11:40. So let's go back to the spiders for a second. So right around here, this was 11:10. That was that move. Okay, that was the spiky move around 11:10. And this was 11:15. So that's when this made a new move. So let's go back to Netflix and look at 11:10 real quick. Okay, this is 11:40. This is 11:05. Okay, yeah. So this is where it was. So right at 11:10, the futures spiked through highs. Okay, spiked, and this actually ticked lower. So right there was your first maybe negative divergence, first S&P futures to give you a little bit of, potential conviction to be short here versus the high. Okay, and then you had your wedge pattern get developed with a small little 5-minute red dog reversal. People say, can you have a red dog reversal on a 5-minute? Yes. Push through, came back below. That's your 5-minute red dog reversal if this was like a daily chart. And then here was your downside move. And then, you could have picked when you wanted to cover, and you could have made about $10 for an intraday trade. So whatever, that was just something that happened during the day. I wanted to point it out just to show you how you could look at some things using a technical feel. Amazon, frustrating name, frustrating. That and Google, both of them, pop back up. Amazon, we were all debating whether we should take it home long because it did one of the red dog reversals at the bottom end of the range. I didn't take it. Some guys did. If you did, you had a nice trade yesterday, some follow through today, and overall still in this range. It's taking its sweet time. But anyway, we see what's next. I wouldn't be chasing it right here, but who knows? I've seen crazier things. It just goes when it wants to go, and just again, day and a half trade without breaking out to new highs. You still could have made $7, $8, $9. And then you go to Google that had a really strong day today. Now all of a sudden, I have to, what? The old red dog would say, I'm never touching Google again. The new red dog will say, what? Maybe it hasn't been ready yet. Now this time it perhaps gets through this clean and gives you a trending move back to 580. It did engulf all the moving averages, but just I'm going to make sure there's heavy volume if this were to really go. But kind of repaired itself, and you'll see what's next there. Tesla couldn't really find a friend today. Came back into the base. The CFO left or retired, whatever it is he did. All I know is it's still, if I was in it, I would say reduce and give it some time to figure out if this holds, that you just don't have like a breakout failure, because that tends to lead to quicker down moves. So, here's big support. Mobileye wasn't ready yet today. All in all, though, you look at it, still looks okay as far as short term. Long term, everyone talks about the big potential here, and I do think you have that. Short term, little doji, held the majority of the breakout. Look where it was a few sessions ago, so maybe another few sessions, and then that can continue. Social media land, LinkedIn, didn't really participate, but overall, small inside day. Maybe it needs an upgrade, maybe it needs something to be a catalyst, but this gap held, it still looks okay. Next buy would be above this. Facebook also, gave you a red dog reversal yesterday. That was one of the stocks that I did come in long, and I held it the entire day and got paid pretty well there. Now it seems like you have another one of these type patterns where I don't know if it's going to need a few days to mess with everybody, kind of like what this had to do, or not. So, this is one of the ones in the camp, obviously, to make new highs on the year. Twitter, I don't even know. I didn't even look at that once today, so I'm glad I did not. And then you had some of the airlines. That I kind of messed up that trade. I went home long American Airlines and said it on the 9 o'clock meeting to the traders. I'm like, guys, oil's up a lot. The airlines are emotionally down a little bit. Give it to the inventory number, and chances are after the shorts can't press it, you'll get a day 2 to yesterday's day 1. And basically you had a small day 2, and there was some money there to trade. It went green, pushed above the high of 40.72. Gave you another 50 cents. So that's all I was really looking for it anyway. Just same kind of thing you had here, there. And sometimes, day and a half strategies work. I just didn't give it enough time. While we're talking about oil, what did oil do? Closed off highs. We mentioned to see, what could happen at this pivot right here. So did it push through? It pushed through. Or no, it just matched it. 2080, 2080, 2080, 2080. So we'll see what's next. Doesn't mean game over for oil. It just means that it had a decent move. Yesterday, for those of you in Redler All Access, I wrote about buying the HEDJ, and I talked about it with Brittany, to buy that dip in yesterday morning call, not today. We reiterated it today, but yesterday. And if you did so, you made yourself a nice percentage move. Okay, you made yourself, I think it was up 2.6%. Is there more room? Probably. If it was just a day trade for you, congratulations. Now, in order to see, this, or just an overnight, if you want to see this continue, maybe see if it could hold this gap, go a little sideways, show some commitment to this, and then you could see some more upside. This trend line doesn't come into there, so there's more, could be more room for you. We talked about how, buying into the 62s, or at least covering would be good. 10% plus on the DAX is getting close, and here you go. So you'll see what's next there tomorrow. And with all that said, you know what? If you missed today and got too chopped up in the last month, and you weren't ready for it, it happens. This type of day could mean better trading in the future because it loosens things up, puts stocks in play. Some stocks are making new highs, so other stocks might follow. So there could be better trading out there. If tomorrow, we lose half of what we made today as far as, points on the indices, we could be just right back in the 2015 chop slop. So, we'll see. But all in all, that's why you always have to be ready with a plan. You have to know if you came in short today, what level should you cover? If you came in flat and you were looking for a way in, what pivots could you have bought? And then just where they could potentially go as far as resistance 1, 2, and 3. And then tomorrow, based on what the futures are doing, we'll figure it out again. So all in all, we'll see if you can now digest here and then go again. Because if you remember when I was saying I was long yesterday, I'm like, even if the bears want to keep control, you have the left shoulder to the head, maybe they want to bounce it up and create a right shoulder. And at this point, this potent move puts a little bit of doubt that that's the case and that's why it happened. Typically you get a few little moves, but well, you know, I guess we've seen some crazier things. You know, last time you had this potent move here, inside day, down, and then that was that. Let's see what happened a few other times. You know, this was your pivot here. You had your, a lot of these patterns don't look the same right now, but we'll see. We'll see if, you know, if this does develop, which it could, but I don't think that's the case. Looking at the action in the IBB, looking at the action in the Russell, watching some key stocks break out. So I would rather see few inside days and then continuation. But what the market wants to do and what I want it to do are two separate things. I just have to be prepared for what takes place and hopefully participate in a way that makes me feel comfortable. And that's the same thing you have to do. Tomorrow morning, I'm not going to be in the morning call. My son has moving up exercises from kindergarten to first, so I'm not going to be here for the open. I'm going to definitely come back to the city. I have things at night, so I will be on the VTF a little bit later, and I'll probably be trading the close. I'll do the recap, but no morning call from me, but you will get my note like we always do, just might be a little bit smaller. Have a great night, and I will see you at some point tomorrow. Bye-bye.